Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page here at Facebook, where I do a daily live stream, pretty much every day, and it's all around the divination cards that I draw in the morning. And so, welcome. And it is a Sunday, the December 23rd. Holy smokes, we're fast approaching the end of 2018. Right? Yeah. All in all, I have to say that 2018 for me was a far sight better than 2017. And yeah, it was 2018 was a much, much better year. And yeah, lots of good things happened in 2018. Looking forward to 2019. That's for sure. And I do know that there are many people of my friends and some of my family, they cannot wait for 2018 to be over with because it was very challenging for them. And yeah. So anyway, welcome. And I am broadcasting from Star Nations Academy. That's where I would say 99.9% of all my live streams now. And we are located in Tomah, Wisconsin, which is about an hour east of the Mississippi in northwestern Wisconsin. We're about an hour and 45 minutes or so from the east side of Madison, which is our capital. Yeah. Tomah is actually a very small town. It really is. We are about 3.5 hours from the Twin Cities and Chicago. So we're kind of right smack in the dab of those two larger cities. And so we become the stop where everybody gets out to stretch their legs and get something to eat or to spend the night, right? And so we are exactly where the interstate divides. And yeah, and you can feel the energy here in that way too. That's for sure. Let's see who's all in the chat. All filing in. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, Julie Shumway Hill's here this afternoon. Hi, Julie. Good to have you here. Always good to see you in the chat. And Violet's here too. Hi, Violet. Good to have you here. And Rochelle says, well, hello, Neshi. Have missed you. Aw. And shoulder is healing slowly but surely. Yay! That's good news, Rochelle. Really it is. And, I think about you almost every day, hoping that your pain level is much more manageable and that your range of motion in your arm, your shoulder is getting back or even better than what you had before. Yeah. And Stephanie's here too. Ditto, 2019 will be the best year yet for all of us. Exactly. I have to agree. Hey, Christine, one of my sisters is in the house. It's always fun to have one of my sisters. Or I don't think I've had everybody in the house at the same time, but it's always nice to have my sisters with me. I know that these ladies, sisters of my soul, support me and love me. They're the ones who got me through 2017. And what I learned most from 2017 and brought into 2018 as a piece of wisdom that I learned from all of that in 2017 was that I got very clear on those individuals who are the closest to me and who support me and love me no matter what. And they're here for me, right? I got that very clear. And I also learned along those same lines is that I was spending a lot of my energy on individuals that weren't here for me. And I was trying to figure out why not, why can't you be here with me when I need you kind of thing. And I was spending about that 80-20 split, that 80% on that and only 20% with the people that really did love me and were really here for me. And I remember the day that I realized that it's like, oh my goodness, got to change that. So I flipped it around and placed 80% of my energy with those people who love me the most and support me, and about 10% on those individuals who, haven't been there for me, Where some of us are still friendly, and respectful to each other, but they're not in my inner circle anymore. And so, I do spend a little time with them. And then the other 10% is with those that are outside of my personal boundary that I still have to have some contact with, but they don't take a lot of my time, and so I spend 80% of my time with the people who love me the most. Yay! Makes me smile. Yeah. Hey, Tina's here too. Hello, Tina. Hello, Tina. And we're at that point in 2018 where we start to reminisce and kind of look back and think about the high points and the low points too, right? And sometimes they're both. Sometimes they're both. But we're right in that area of the year, the energy of a year, where we're doing that. And so as I was looking back on 2018 this morning, I realized that how much this year was so different than 2017. And I had to sit with it for a little bit to find, to feel about what was it that, what events or occurrences happened that stretched me, made me, with that soul growth that I learned a lot from. And for this year, I would have to say it was two sides, two things. And that is the primary caregiver role. Yeah. When we accept that role, when we take it on and we say, yes, we're going to do that, we don't realize how much it's going to change your life and how much it changes you. And how much it weighs on your emotions, especially when I'm referring to elderly parents and watching how much they change as their health starts to decline. And this is a slow decline. And so I see just a little bit every day. And then sometimes I turn around a couple months later and realize, oh, that's a significant change. I didn't see it exactly happening because it was so incrementally slow, until it's like I turn around one day and realize she's a lot shorter. And so I've learned when they say you take care of yourself, they really mean it, because there's days when I have to think, I don't know how much longer I can do this emotionally. Physically, it is a snap. It's easy. Physically, it's the emotional one, and then the emotional weighs on the mental. And so the calling in for help from my spiritual team, and and facing some of those hard things with family, and having to discuss that care and that kind of thing. So I learned a lot from that. And the other one is Star Nations and getting it stable through 20. It's been a year now, or close to a year. It'll be a year, January 3rd. And so we are stable, and we're actually growing, And so taking Star Nations and repositioning us so that it is more of a heart-led community and business than an ego-led. Let's just put it that way. That was a shift, and learning a lot from that. So those two things for me for 2018, big, and really a lot of growth in that. Yeah. So that's what I did. That's how my morning was kind of busy between, doing that kind of reflection and dealing with Mom's pain, and trying to get a couple of more Z's in there too this morning. Yeah. So what's Tina saying? She says, my mother's 87 and had a birthday party for her. Aw, that is good. 87. That was a good age for my mom too. She's mom's birthday's in June, and she turned 99. So this June we're looking at 100. 100. Yeah. So so that was my morning. That was my morning. And so when I sat down, and that was after I did the reflection, after I drew the cards. After I drew the cards, because it's very interesting, the combination that happened with the cards this morning. So, you guys all know that the intention for the card draw is that I call my full team in and I ask them to please show me what is the most important energy for us to know about today for our highest good and the highest good of all, and that we can share with others. Okay. And hey, Anne's with us too. Good afternoon. Good to have you here with us. And so that's the intention for the card draw, and that's the intention every day, except for the solstice. I changed it just a little bit and added in that what do we need to know for the solstice energy. Right. All right. So this is the first card that came. Whoops. I forgot. I'm going to share. I'm going to do this quickly. I completely forgot about it. Talking about reminiscing and taking reflection time. Yay. Okay. I'm going to share it to my personal newsfeed. And it looks like Stephanie's on it. Looks like she did some sharing already. There we go. And then please join me. There we go. And I would appreciate it if you could take the time to like, and if you're so inclined to share it as well. And I'll explain why. And we do this request in almost all of our shows, our live stream shows. And the reason why we do is because it helps us to be in the news feed much more often, right? Because every second there is so much information that comes through social media, especially Facebook, that things tend to get buried very quickly. And as light workers and energy workers, I kind of see it like civic duty or civic service, right? Because those of us that are maybe just doing the consciousness of our earth experience as a spirit, right? That we are a spirit first having a physical experience, right? And we become searchers, seekers of information. And when it can be made just a little bit more easy to find the information, that's just really being helpful, right? And so that's why we ask you guys to do the liking and the sharing. And thank you, Rochelle. Rochelle says she shared. I appreciate that. And so did Stephanie. Shared to all the Star Nations groups. Yay. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. And so this is the first card. Don't you just love this? Now, Christine, my sister, who's in the house in the chat, she is a spiritual artist. She does spirit portraits and she does illustrations in spiritually based books. And so, in fact, she did the artwork in Minnie Kansman's book, Missing Nana. And Christine, I think you're just finishing up illustrating another children's book, and that's going to be about whales. But anyway, the artwork, I love this picture because you can certainly get the sense, the feeling of being in the air, right, with her hair, because this is the air guardian. Air guardian. You can see her wings, and you get the clouds in the background. Yeah. And look at that headpiece. Isn't that something? Yeah. And the air guardian or spirit of air is about mental thoughts. Yeah, look at her eyes. I'm going to get this a little bit closer. And her eyes. So, it's that part of us that spends a lot of time in thought, strategy, planning. It's about hearing as well. So that's, if we were going to place our clairs, how we bring in information, intuition, and I would put clairaudient in the East, in that kind of medicine, the spirit of the East, because, it comes in a way that, yeah, it's not necessarily about your emotions first, right? It's not like clairsentient. Yeah, and so getting that information in clairaudient first goes through that layer first. And the message on here is shift your perception. Shift your perception. So we can look at a situation or an event from many different perspectives. And usually we're better at that when we're witnessing. But when we're in direct involvement in it, sometimes it's hard. It's a challenge to be able to see the event or the situation from more than just one or two perspectives, right? Your own perspective, and possibly one of the other people that's in this occurrence. It depends on how much emotion is going on. So many times we get locked into our own perception, and it's hard for us to see what's going on or information from in a different way because we're so locked into it. And I think this is where we get that having to prove that we're right. Have you guys ever been there? I know I certainly have. Yeah, having to prove that you're right. And when your emotions are really enhanced, they're high emotions in one way or another, whether it's anger or whether it's joy, there's a lot of energy behind it. And so when that energy of our emotions are behind our thoughts, we can create very quickly. We can create very quickly. So we have to be really conscious and aware of what we're creating, what we're manifesting with those feelings and those thoughts, those words, right? Yeah. And so when we're in that singular perspective, that's when you kind of get that tunnel vision going too, right? That tunnel vision, that we're not able to see or sense another person's perspective. It usually happens for me after I calm down. After I calm down, and I can depending on what the situation was, I can actually sense something coming from the other person's point of view. Many times it's a fear thing coming. They're afraid of something, and a lot of times it's their inner child that is fearful. Yeah, so that helps to understand it a little bit broader, right? But what I like to do is think of it as, let's say you're in a living room, okay? And the situation that's occurring is happening in the middle of the room, right? And so you're standing there with this other person or people, and you are experiencing the situation with them. And so you can only see it from your vantage point and where you're standing in the room. So in order to see it from another perspective, sometimes we have to step back and maybe move to a different position in the room. What's it look like if I went over to the left and stood there and looked at what was going on. And so you're trying to look at from different perspectives, right? And sometimes that helps me, that imagery helps me to understand that maybe I need to talk to whoever was in the room, but they were standing further back. Not asking them to choose sides. That's not the point. The point is about asking, what did you see when this was going on? Because it's going to help me to understand it better. I'm not asking them for validation or anything like that. It's just that they saw something different from a different angle. Yeah. And I think the same thing happens when you're in a family, because, one of my older brothers he's like, that's not what happened. I was there. That's not what happened. Well, I was there too. And this is what I saw. This is what I felt. And so, he kind of gets stuck in, because my perception or my memory of that particular event is different from his. Mine is wrong because he's the one, that saw it. And so we've had this conversation, this discussion, about, yeah, but I was standing over there and I could see Dad's face. You couldn't. Or I was standing right next to Mom and I know when she decided she was going to leave the room. That kind of thing. And so it was the same experience, but it was the same event or situation, but we each experienced it a little differently. So that's what this card means, I believe, is that it's a changing of your perception. And sometimes it's the very first thing we have to realize is that our perception isn't the only one. It isn't the only one. Yeah. All right. Let's see. I got to try to scroll. There we go. We're scrolling. Yeah. Oh, and Christine is saying we are done. She's done with the illustrations. Yay! Okay, second book illustrations done. Excellent. Congratulations, Christine. I hope you celebrated. Stephanie said the crown looks very, very Indonesian. I have to agree. It does. And look at what's in really in the center. I don't know if I can get the camera to even focus that much. But there is a crystal. Actually, two of them. And I don't know if I can get the camera to even focus on it. But the lower one almost looks like there's a face in it. Or maybe it's a cloud. Well, I don't know. It kind of looks like a face to me. For those people who have this deck, if you could pull that card out of the deck and take a look, if you can see an image in her crown in that lower crystal or gem that she's wearing. It could be a cloud, and I'm just kind of, yeah. It'd be interesting to see what you guys see in it. All right. And Tina's saying, my husband purchased Earth Warriors Oracle. I thought I would try to read these cards. It would be the first time to try this. Oh, okay. Let us know how that goes for you. Earth Warriors Oracle. And who's the author of that, Tina? Of that deck? Earth Warriors Oracle. Is it Kyle? Because I only know Kyle's this one deck by Kyle Gray. I haven't looked at his other stuff. It'd be interesting because I know that there's a couple people who are in the chat who has this deck, the Angels and Ancestors deck, this one by Kyle Gray. And if you could pull out the Air Guardian card, And take a look at the in her crown, in the lower gem closest to her face. If you can see an image there, because when I look at it, I see. At first, I thought it was just clouds, or maybe it was like an astronomy kind of picture. But when I took a second look at it, to me it looks like a man's face. A man's face, like an older man that kind of has like a white beard. Yeah. Yeah. So did I, Christine. That's what I was double checking to see what other people might have seen. Yeah. And Tina says, Alana Fairchild. Thank you, Tina. I'm gonna take a look at that, because maybe that might be a deck that I'm drawn to be able to add to the collection, right? And start using it, and use it on the live stream. Yeah. Thank you for that. All right, so let's take a look to see what Kyle has to say about the Air Guardian, because I know we've had this card before, but it's been a while. Yeah, here we go. It says, shift your perception. Change the way you think and you will change your whole reality. Change the way you think and you will change your whole reality. Now, isn't that the truth? Tina's saying, rise of the soul tribe of sacred guardians and inspired visionaries. That's interesting. Sacred guardians and inspired visionaries. I'm going to take a look at it and see how it resonates with me. Okay. Because what's his name? Michael Dooley. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he was the first one that I had read that when I first saw the phrase, thoughts become things, right? Thoughts become things. He was talking about manifesting. But our thoughts are a creation. Our thoughts are a creation. And so when we put our emotions behind the creation, it gives it the fuel to be brought into the physical reality. Okay. And there's an old saying, be careful what you ask for, right? Because you just might get it. Yeah. I know that's a fear-based thing, but I think we can actually attach that to our thoughts as well. Because if you have the thought, and you may as well say it, because it's already out there in the ethers, in the universe, in the sixth dimension, getting formulated. The unformed becomes formed, right? And so I think, pun intended, I think that our ability to create begins with a thought, right? And so when you're a conscious being, a conscious human being, then we're also very aware of our thoughts. So how many of us have caught ourselves thinking something in a negative way? Using words like, and sometimes they're around so much that we don't even realize how negative they are. Like waiting for the other shoe to drop, Okay. So I tell you what, I delete a lot. It's like, oh, delete that thought. Delete. And then I replace it with something more positive. Now, it does take a little time when you first start, but after a while, because you're so used to being aware of what your thoughts are, it becomes almost like you're a breath. All right. Thank you, Stephanie. She put in the Alana Fairchild link, because then I can go out there and grab it, right? And she said, Tina says, I felt it resonated with me. Well, good. That's really good. Number one is that there's another good deck out there, oracle cards. But more importantly, you listened, you felt your intuition, and you listened to it and acted on it. That's cool. And Connie is saying we have to change due to the shift. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And when we're consciously aware of it, that shift happens faster for us, right? Yeah. And there's the link for Mike Dooley information. He's I read this stuff a long time ago, and some of it's really good. And Julie Hill is saying, looking at the card, it may be a face, but not a pleasant looking face. Yeah, it definitely, when somebody is in deep thought, sometimes they frown, and there's another old saying, you can see the wheels turning, right? They're in deep thought. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like an older man in deep thought. And he doesn't write anything about this in his little booklet. Now that's a question to ask him if I can get him on the show, right? All right, so he goes on to write that the Air Guardian card represents the angels of the element of air. Traditionally, air is all about thoughts, thinking, and everything that's happening in the mind. Okay, so these angels can help you to overcome any thoughts that have come back to haunt you from past and to see the world more clearly. They are guiding you to change the way you think about certain situations, as this could be standing between you and greatness. All right. So if we take that last sentence, standing between you and greatness, right? And we've been working on identifying our gifts and applying our gifts and healing those traumas that might be an interference or a block to our gifts, or having full access to our gifts, which increases our access to our intuition, right? So this is another layer of that if we are aware of what our thoughts are, we can start changing those thoughts. We can think about the same object or the same subject, but in a more positive way. Now here's one. This is one that Mom and I we do this almost every day, maybe once, more than once a day. And that is, she watches a lot of like MSNBC and that kind of thing, right? And so she gets to know the show hosts really well. And she'll notice when one of them are out for any length of time. Like, so-and-so, she's been gone for 2 weeks, or it's been 3 weeks and she hasn't been on a show. She hasn't been on a panel. I hope she's not ill. I hope that she didn't have surgery. It's like, so I usually reply, well, Mom, maybe she's on vacation. Or was she pregnant? I don't know if she was pregnant. Maybe she's on family leave. Maybe there's something more positive going on with her. Let's not wish illness or surgery on this young woman, And if you're really that concerned about her, why don't you say a prayer that she's healthy, that she's in optimal health, and just say a positive prayer for her. And so, that's something that we do on a daily basis. Yeah. And Violet saying, I've been working on that. Yep. That awareness, and we can actually ask our spiritual team to help us with that. We can ask them to help me to to recognize when I have a more negative thought, that I can delete that, and help me to learn how to change that to a positive thought, to flip it to a positive, you know. Because when you first start, you gotta go, how can I say that more positive? And the other one that I've learned along the way, Violet, is that word, when we're trying. And I think Tina and I had that conversation the other day about trying to, whenever we're trying to do something, means that we're constantly reaching for it, right? And then changing that sentence to I am patient, I am loving, I am aware. And I found that to be very empowering when I made that conscious realization to change that around. And Mary's saying, your mom is so sweet. I know. And she recognizes these people and knows them by name. And, sometimes they talk about their personal lives a little bit on air. And so she knows, if they have children, or if they have a spouse or something like that, and so she does, she does worry about them a little bit when she doesn't see them. Or I'll say, that field is really competitive, Mom. That career is very competitive. So it's possible that they moved to a different station or a different location because it was a good career move for them, and so maybe they're advancing themselves in their career. They don't have to be sick. Yeah. So, but that also teaches me, right? It teaches me to be more aware of it. Right. So Michael goes on to say, when this card arises, it's an opportunity to learn about your way of thinking. You're being guided to recognize that not all you see is exactly the way you see it. Yeah, it's not always black and white, is it? There's a whole lot of gray in between there. Sometimes the mind can play games, and sometimes our perceptions can be wrong. If you are being challenged or feel that there's a lack of clarity and direction in your life at this moment, there's a good chance the way you're thinking or what you're focusing on has a lot to do with that reality. So in other words, if you feel like you're stuck and you talk about being stuck all the time, then you are going to remain stuck, right? And so he goes on to say that you are being guided to open your eyes and your mind, go beyond any limits that you have set for yourself, and recognize that the way you see the world is how you will experience the world. The way you see the world is how you're going to experience it. Right? And basically, the world that we see, the world that we experience, and I'm talking about our local world, right, is a reflection of what's going on inside of us. So if we see beauty and peace and love out there in our world, that's what's going on inside of us. If we see chaos and, less than loving, and so that's what's being reflected to us from the inside of us. And so that will give us a good clue of, I gotta start changing what's going on in here. And many times the first thing that can help us is to change our thoughts. Yeah. And, talking about moms, Paul's mom does the same thing, kind of. And I'm talking, all of these are Geminis. Paul's a Gemini. My mom's a Gemini. My mother-in-law is a Gemini. I'm surrounded by them. And so Paul's mom will say something about, no matter what it is, that's so bad. That's so bad. And, when I'm in the room, I'm asking, why is it bad? I want to know it, because I want to know what her perspective is, right? And sometimes we can actually kind of turn that a little bit into more of a positive. Yeah. Mary's saying that this card is spot on for me right now. Wow. I know. You know what what I'm feeling, because when I get to the second card, I'm hoping that you guys will agree with me, is what I'm feeling about this is that we're starting a new energy, a new cycle, right? Because here we are at the end of 2018. We've only got another week to go, right? And so this is you can kind of feel the energy building up for this change, and because we have a mass consciousness of how we experience New Year, right? And so we can feel this building. And so now spirit is giving us an opportunity to say, now would be a good time to really kind of look at how you frame your thoughts, because they're very powerful beings. And I got to share this too. Thoughts. Thank you, Stephanie, doing the live streams. Thank you. In space clearing. Now, I've been doing space clearing since I was 13. And there is an energy that is very potent when you're doing space clearings, and that's thought forms. So if you've ever lived in an apartment where you've had, that apartment has had many other people renting it, and it's never been cleared, you're living in the residual energy of those other people, right? And that residual energy has to do with thoughts. Sometimes the emotion behind them is so strong that they can come across as an entity. So when we are being conscious, when we're living our life consciously, and we're conscious of our thoughts, can you imagine filling your home with loving thoughts, right? So that, and you have that emotion behind it, and you have loving beings in your house, because those thoughts take on a life form. They're a part of you, part of your energy. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when we say that we're living our life consciously, this is a part of it. Yeah. And as a space clearer, sometimes clearing those negative thoughts take more assistance, takes more time too, than if I was dealing with an actual entity. Yeah. Yeah. Brings back fond memories. Okay, so we're talking about the air guardian and our thoughts. It's all about mental mind stuff. The spirit of air. And for me, and the medicine wheel that I live my life by, is in the east. Okay, so I'll check the time. All right, so here's the second card. Trader. Trader. Trader with a D, not a T. That would be a whole different kind of conversation if it was a T. Traitor. This is a trader. That English language is sometimes difficult, don't you think? Okay. So in this one, this is it says exchange energy to create abundance. Exchange energy to create abundance. And so when we do an energy exchange, right? When we do an energy exchange, it can be material, it can be spiritual, it can be emotional, and it can also be mental. Exchange energy to create abundance. Yeah. Mary is saying, have you dealt with an actual entity? Yeah. Yeah. Many. Yeah, I've been doing a space clearance since I was 13 or 13 years old, helping when I was 13. On my own, probably when I was about 15. That was our own house, not someone else's. And then started doing clearings for other people when I was in my 30s. So yeah, yep, I have. They're not as, yeah. You have to have some experience to do it. That's for sure. Yeah. So Tina's saying, I went through a lot this past year. When I look back with family, was chaos. Finding out that a portal was open in this house from murderers that were committed, and thank the dream that showed me. Oh, I see. And my husband knew and cleared it out, and my spirituality seems stronger now. Yeah, that can certainly happen. It comes from the heart. Yeah, and clearing out that energy, and actually closing the portal, right? That's really very important. Tina, are there ley lines or energy lines, water lines, your natural water lines that flow beneath your house as well? Because when you're dealing with portals or anything like that, there has to be an energy source to keep it open, to keep it alive. Yeah, because if there is, that's something that your husband might want to take a look at, right? And to have Grandmother Earth help with that. Yeah. So Violet is, what is an energy exchange? Okay, good question, Violet. Good question. I'm just going to do this one. Mary said, I studied clearing with you. Yes, you did. I remember that. And Violet, an energy exchange. That would be the most common one is money. Okay, so we do energy exchanges. If you have an employer, you do it all the time. You work for 2 weeks and you get your paycheck. That's an energy exchange. That's probably the most common and most popular energy exchange. But you can do energy exchanges in other ways. You can barter. For instance, there were times when I would barter my services, and with people who may not have had a lot of money at the time. And so I would barter my services for meals. They would prepare a meal and they would freeze it and they would bring it to me. And we're talking about vegetarian or vegan meals, those kinds of things. So you can barter those kinds as an energy exchange. I did something for them. They didn't have a lot of cash at the time. And so in order to have that equal energy flow of give and take, reciprocity, right? Cause and effect. That's a universal law, is that to have this give and take, this receiving and giving. And so they gave me what they felt was the best that they could give at the time. And that was, she was cooking meals anyway. And so she just added enough for 2 more people. And then she froze them and brought them to Paul and I. Gosh, we must have had enough food in our freezer for, I don't know, a couple months at least. And and so that can be an energy exchange. When you give somebody a hug, somebody's going through a hard time. Maybe they're crying or they're upset, and you give them a hug. That's an energy exchange because you're giving them love and support. That's an energy exchange. About the thoughts, because we can exchange that too. When we're thinking good thoughts for someone, somebody's maybe going after a new job, or they're looking at graduation, and we're wishing them luck. We're sending them good words, right? That is both a thought and your heart. So those are just some examples. So it's really about, I do something for you, and you do something for me. It's an energy exchange. And to have it as equal as possible, right? So that we both feel good about it. Yeah. I hope I answered your question. That was a good question, Violet. Thank you for asking that. Tina saying, my husband always sees old-time natives around this area, like native warrior, old woman with a buffalo robe, a woman holding a child, like a massacre area, I think. A lot of battle energy, huh? Okay. So your husband feels like he's pretty good at doing this clearing work. So if he connects with the whether it's the stone people or the tree people there, that can give him the history of the area, right? Tell them the story about what happened there, and then having help to clear that and put things to rest. I'm going to put that in air quotes. Put things to rest. Okay. Yeah. It sounds like he would be able to do that. And a holding palm to palm, a hug and energy exchange. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. We do that all the time, and we don't really necessarily consider it an energy exchange, but it is. It really is. Yeah. Okay, check the time. All right, there's another example of one. Whenever you've been traveling someplace, like on a plane or train or, some sort of public kind of transportation, and, maybe there's a child on board, and the mom or the dad is holding the child, and the child is having a difficult time, crying. Maybe it's the air pressure, causing issues with their ears, or, the child is just having a hard time. And then the parent begins to get emotional about it. And it's like, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to quiet him, and they're getting, that people are getting angry with them because the child is crying. And okay, you get the situation, right? And you're a passenger. And you say a prayer for the child and for the parent. Or you ask for angels to come to help them, right? That's an energy exchange. Because that parent is probably, I wish I knew what to do here. Or the child doesn't know what's going on, and so maybe they're asking for help in a way, and you were able to sense that, And I've actually, an example out of my own life, going over and asking the mom if she's okay, and she's got tears in her eyes. She goes, I'm trying. I said, I know you are. You can tell, and I said, I don't know if you know anything about essential oils, but I have lavender here because I carry lavender with me all the time. And I said, even if you don't put anything on you, just open it and just inhale it. It was Young Living Oils at the time. This is years ago. And I said, it's going to help you calm down. And when you feel calm, then your baby's going to be a little bit calmer too, because right now, he's grasping at what's going on. And the more you get upset, the more he gets upset. And I said, I know you're trying. And so this is just a little something that might be able to help. Right. And I said, and if you just take a drop and put it on your hands, rub your hands together, inhale it, maybe put some on your ears or on your heart. I said, if you don't mind putting it on your baby, I said, just maybe a little bit on from your hands that you've already got on, and just rub his feet. And I would say within, half an hour, for sure, 45 minutes, the baby was sleeping. Mom had a cup of tea, and we're debarking, leaving the plane. And she catches up to me and she says, I wanted to thank you. She goes, I've never used this oil before, but it was really helpful. And she was going to give it back to me. I said, no, keep it, because you're going to have a flight going someplace again. If you're leaving here to go back home, and she kind of laughed. She goes, yeah, in about a week, we're going to be heading back home. I said, keep it, And so that is an energy exchange as well. Yeah. And so, Kim is saying, my husband does have some powerful dreams. I'll mention that to him. He sees spirit in the different places where he travels. Yeah, he's clairvoyant. And so, it's just to get the story from the land, from Grandmother Earth. Check in with the stone people, check in with the standing people, the trees, right? And see what they have to say about that area, because they've seen it all. They can give him some insight. All right, so we're going to look up traitor quickly here and see what Kyle has to say about traitor. If I could learn how to spell. Here he is. Energy exchange to create abundance. The message is make connections and exchange information, talents, and support. Okay? Make connections and exchange information, talents, or support. So when we look at these two cards together, right? When you look at these two cards together, one is nudging us to be mindful, to be aware, consciously aware of our thoughts and what we want to create. And the other one is saying share information. Share information. Exchange it. Exchange your information, talents, and support. So if we take the thoughts thing, right? The thoughts, and we're talking about information, thoughts, is that, do you have information coming through your gifts, right? Whatever that is, that you can share with others when there's a good energy exchange, right? Yeah. In fact, Connie, if Connie's still in the house, Connie and I did that yesterday on a call. She had called me about her article. Her premiere article, by the way, in the January issue of Star Nations magazine. Connie has been a longtime radio show host and also live stream host now, but she's hasn't directly contributed to the magazine. And starting in January, we're going to have one of our elders be a contributing writer for the magazine. And that's an exchange of information, right? Exchange of information. So, yeah. So what are your gifts and the information around those gifts that you could share with someone else in that exchange? Right? Connie, yes, we did. I know. And it really is a good example of that. And so in that exchange, it says the trader brings the lesson and energy of exchange. When he appears, he could represent an opportunity to exchange talents, whatever they may be, in order to expand or be about the exchange of energies that come from the universe, or both. For example, if you're a creative person or consider yourself creative, when you share your talents, you are giving them, and when you do so, the universe will give you more in order for you to share more. Okay, so there we are. We're still talking about the giving and the receiving, right? It's a universal law of cause and effect. He goes on to say that it's a beautiful cycle. The trader also reminds you to be open and honest and act with integrity in your exchanges, because doing something to get something will only lead to challenges. Okay. So when it's only coming from your ego is when we have a challenge. You'll be challenged. But when you come from a balanced place of both your head and your heart, right, then what you're offering is in balance. And the universe can give you something back in balance. Does that make sense? Yeah, because even if we just give it purely from our heart, okay, and we've all done that. When energy workers, we do that all the time. When we give it purely from our heart and there's no energy exchange, that's out of balance too. Even though you say it feels good, but is it really in a balanced way, right? You're not looking for anything in return, but it's still out of balance because only you're giving, and eventually you'll feel depleted, right? And then it's no longer it's no longer fun. Yeah, and we're at the top of the hour already. I'm just going to finish this up quick, okay? And it goes on to say the universe operates under the law of cause and effect and always looking to return to a natural state of balance. So if you're lacking in the feelings of abundance at this time, you're being invited to share your time, your gifts, and your understanding with others. Share your thoughts, the good thoughts. If you're frustrated because something isn't unfolding in your life, instead of asking yourself what you can get, ask yourself, what can you give? The exchange of energy doesn't necessarily mean financial energy. It can also be about supporting in order to feel supported. If you've been holding back with your offerings, now is the time to exchange that. Allow yourself to be open, honest, and vulnerable. This can prepare you to open up even greater opportunities in the coming days, weeks, and months. Okay, so how does the trader support the guardian of air, right? So being consciously aware of our thoughts, learning how to delete those thoughts that are more negative, and to change them into a positive, flip them, right? Yeah. And then maybe it's coming through your gifts, and to be able to share information in a balanced way. And you can do that in a lot of different ways. You can do it through drawing, you can do it through writing, you can do it through talking, lots of different ways. And I think Spirit really is helping us to see that when we begin this new cycle that we call a new year, that we can begin it with being aware of our thoughts, right? And how it affects others and ourselves. Yay! All right. Violet saying these cards are so right for me. Thank you. You're so welcome. You're welcome. My spiritual team is the one that brings us all together, right? I get the opportunity to be able to share that with you. And, if anything resonated with you, please embrace it. And then be aware, notice how energy for today is unfolding for you or has unfolded for you. And how it's flowing. And if this information is helpful, useful, and to please apply it through your gifts, right? Yeah, that's what we're really being asked. And if it didn't resonate with you, that's okay. Don't worry about it. This one just wasn't for you is all. And maybe you're just the messenger. Maybe you know somebody who would enjoy the conversation and you can share the recorded show with them, the link. Then you're done, right? And so coming up this week, it's kind of an interesting week because of the holiday. Yeah, I won't be doing a live stream on tomorrow, which is Christmas Eve, or Christmas Day. Okay. My next live stream with you guys will be on Wednesday, the 26th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So when we'll pick this back up, all right? The other thing is that Tuesday, Polly Jo LeBay show, Chakra Sessions, is going to be a replay of a previous live stream show. Actually, I think we're taking it from 2017. I'll get that posted for her at probably before noon on Tuesday. It's about creating abundance. I think it's joy. Creating a joyful new year. That's what it is. So we'll get that YouTube posted for you guys. and for her show on Tuesday, because she won't be doing a live show on Tuesday. And then Tuesday night would have been my live show, Communications from Home, at 8 p.m. Eastern. And that is going to be a replay. And I'm going to be sharing with you a past show that I did about a life review. Okay. And then on Wednesday, Polly Joe's Back live show on 7 p.m. Eastern time for Soul Connections. Okay. So Wednesday, we'll have some live shows. Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time is Spiritual Mysteries of Life with Connie Shearwater. That's the host. And so she'll be talking about joy, peace, and the I am presence on Thursday morning. So if you can join us for that would be great. Thursday evening, the Mystery School with Carl and Orchard Franklin is going to be a replay about being human. Okay. So we'll get that posted for you as well to YouTube. Because Orchard and Carl will be heading to their summer home down in Florida. And so they'll be offline for a few days at the end of December, right? And they'll be back live in the January show. And we'll be talking about Carl's new book at the end of January. Yeah. Yep. And then get prepared. We're going to be playing trivia on New Year's Eve. We're going to have one in the afternoon and one in the evening. And if we have enough questions, we're going to have one on New Year's Day in the afternoon. But I'll get all of that, the times and everything like that for you guys ready to go. I think the one on New Year's Eve is going to be at 2 p.m. when I would normally do this live stream, because that makes sense, doesn't it? And then the evening one will be at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be doing an hour and a half for the trivia on New Year's Eve. Okay, so join us for that. The trivia is all about Star Nations. All about it. Yeah. All right. So Mary saying thank you. Peace to you and your family this Christmas. Thank you, Mary, to you and your family. Anna saying Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too, and to Violet as well. You guys, Bama Mina, until we see each other again. And you know what? I love you guys. All right. Have a good rest of the Sunday.